Greene County Mayor Kevin Morrison joins us in our studios this morning. Good morning, Mayor. How are you today?
Good morning, Ron.
Some many months ago, I would pass by the old Takoma Hospital building and wonder, what's going to come of that one day. And more than once, I thought, what a great place for Greene County, for the Greene County government, if they could ever get that and locate there and get things in one location. And the reason I thought that is because if you have to go here to get this service or there to get, and I'm not calling out any of the department heads, but if you have to go get a deed or if you have to go get your tags or if you have to go pay your taxes, I always felt that the Courthouse Annex wasn't the greatest of layouts. It's a smaller building. It just never felt exactly right and good enough for the Greene County government. And I was very pleased to hear the other day that you all have been able to negotiate with Ballard to possibly purchase that building. And I wanted you to come in today to talk a little bit about that and answer, some questions that people may have about that and explain how this all came about and kind of tell us, is it a good thing? Is it going to be a struggle for the county? Is it financially feasible? What's going on with it? Um, I was in it as a patient many times, but I just always thought, what a great facility that would there are a lot of benefits to it, in other words, in my opinion. So that's why I wanted you to come in today and talk about this. So tell us first, uh, let's just start with how this came about, that this option for the county to purchase the old Takoma Hospital building from Ballard came about.
Well, Ron, I've said many times that, God takes care of little kids and fools, and I fall into that last category. And since coming to office, and of course, anybody that sort of paid attention to the news and current events here locally, there's always been this sort of undercurrent that for a need for additional space. You mentioned, for instance, the Courthouse Annex where it currently resides, over in the warehouse district. We've heard people, characterize it that way. I will say that putting a focus here since coming to office on business and industry recruitment, it's not the most ideal location or impressive location when a multi-million-dollar industry comes to town and you say, well, this is the seat of our government.
Right.
We've had additionally, the state places, requirements on us that most people aren't aware of with regard to record keeping and archival records, the professionalism that sort of goes along with, investigations at our sheriff's department and being able to interview witnesses and having adequate space to perform operations there. Security concerns, for instance, during court proceedings, and how best to manage the large number of folks that are coming in for arraignments and protect the public. And of course, most recently, you've got all of the requirements and considerations for management and mitigation of COVID. So we've been looking for space for several years. As you know, the last year or two, we even talked about both the city government as well as the county government looked at the old Greene County Bank building when First Tennessee vacated there.
I think Crescent School was even thrown up.
Crescent School has been thrown out there. Many locations. Crescent School was made into or recognized on the historic registry. For its location, the Greene County Bank building, for instance, although a magnificent facility, having served, Greeneville and Greene County very well for many years, is limited in its parking. But the current Greene County Annex is limited in its parking as well.
It would be hard. It's hard for me, Mayor, to go backwards. If you took everything that's in the annex and had to go fit it back in the courthouse now, with the requirements that we have for the different courts, I don't know how they stayed there as long as they did. And
well, that would be a real show that I'd want to buy a ticket to.
I know. Imagine that. When you think about the growth of our county, it was, back in 1980 we had about 20,000 less people, almost a quarter
Sure.
less people that had to be served, and obviously that's changed. So you I didn't mean to interrupt, but go ahead with how ballot, how
No,
that came
absolutely.
apart.
We were actually just sort of sitting around at the end of the day, again, brainstorming about, how best to look past our feet down the road to the future in order to continue to have flexibility and options in case we had to make some very difficult decisions with regard to space, certifications. Those are always on, at the top of our heads, if you will, to make sure that we're not putting Greene County in a position where we have to burden the taxpayers with some type of huge bill down the road because we didn't do our due diligence and plan adequately when we had the time.
Right.
So in sort of that serendipitous moment, much like the people that passed by Takoma, we started wondering, well, it looks like they would do something with that facility. The informal discussions, I think, were, particularly when COVID began in earnest last year, was that place was going to be a flex facility, perhaps, depending upon how bad the pandemic got. There were certainly plans for that. So we didn't necessarily approach them at that point, but sort of after the pandemic sort of ramped down here, at least for this first round, I reached out to Ballard, and surprisingly enough, they were very lukewarm about the possibility of a sale to Greene County. And I think it was the point at where our need met that opportunity, and it's an opportunity for Greene County to take a facility that really only government or a large business or industry could take over and operate, and become a real point of pride for Greene County, in the fact that we don't have a vacant facility going the way of Green Valley, basically, and that we could utilize that would meet our needs, and that it would mitigate, perhaps, or at least provide us some flexibility down the road in terms of planning, so that we can arrange things to put off perhaps larger bills in the future.
I will say this, and not really in the form of a question, just anecdotally what I've heard, and what I know. People, I'm sure, will ask, well, why not use the Green Valley facility? Why can't Greene County use something that's already owned by the government? Well, part of the problem is, first, it's owned by the state of Tennessee, and
Yes.
I can tell you that other counties around here have asked about using that for a lot of things that people in Greene County might not want it used for, and their argument being, well, it's owned by the state, so it's as much Sullivan counties as it is Greene counties. Happens to be located here, but it's just not there for the taking or use by any government agency, and I don't think the state of Tennessee will ever relinquish that. So Green Valley is going to sit there and do what it does, regardless of what the needs of Greene County are. Ballard, on the other hand, is looking to no longer use that facility in a way that's going to keep that facility up. So if they start doing things like you said, cutting off the heat or the air, or leaving parts of that building unused and unkept, then it won't be long before that's like the old Rayon building in Elizabethton, where it's crumbling and falling down, and now you've got an eyesore on your hands.
Absolutely. A legitimate concern that I've heard from, citizens across Greene County is, well, Mayor, we need a hospital. It only takes about 2 minutes to walk in to the former Takoma facility to understand that facility will never be a hospital again. Now, that doesn't answer questions about, the service challenges that we're having now with our current health system, and that's a debate for a different day.
Right. But it's not sitting there. There aren't CT scanners and MRIs. There's not a surgical unit waiting to be turned back on and used. That building is.
That's correct. I mean, there's, as any vacated building, there's furniture. Ballard has a program up there, the Strong Futures program, that, and if you recall the timeline for the Takoma facility for a little while there at the end of 2019. They had an operating emergency room there, and it wasn't long before that went away. And then they had the senior care center up there, the lockdown unit, and it wasn't long before that went away. And now they've got the Strong Futures program, which sort of serves the area regionally and is an excellent program. And we've made some arrangements, at least with the initial contractual agreement, is that that program will stay up there for 3 years, or up to 3 years. Right. And they're looking more for, at least for that program, ballot is a more residential sort of appropriate setting for the women and the children that are residing there. Right. For whatever period of time they're there. And those are all good considerations. Of course, the hospital is more institutional looking and institutional feeling. But for the duration that program is going to be up there on the 4th floor, and they've already undertaken renovations, and there's actually some clients that are there now, it will be completely separate from any governmental office or function. They'll have their own, entrance and exit. The two parties won't mix, but they will peacefully coexist for that period of time.
You can sell me on that it's a great facility, and you can do that to a lot of people, but the question's going to come down is, Mayor, do you have to raise my taxes to buy it?
And that's true, Ron, and that is a legitimate question. And I've been asked that. That question's been put to me. Mayor, how can we afford the $2.5 million purchase price and the estimated $3.5 million renovation cost and not raise my taxes? How can you not ask me for more money?
Before you go with the answer of that, when you say that the purchase price is $2.5 million for even just for the land inside a municipality, that's just such a bargain. I mean, if you flipped it, Mayor, I'm not saying that the county should do that, but let's say you went on flip this house. There are houses in Greene County. There are houses in the town of Greeneville that cost half that much, and they're 5,000 square foot houses on a 1 acre lot out in a subdivision. You're talking about multiple acre, multiple floor, multiple room, well-built facility that's in great shape. That on the market, if it were on the market, I don't know what it would be. It would be certainly more than $2.5 million. So first, the purchase Absolutely. Price is, I won't say it's a gift from ballot or a gift from anybody, but it's certainly not what the market would bear if that were out on them. And it's certainly nowhere approaching the construction cost if you had to build that type of facility.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Ron, I think when the Ballot Health System purchased Takoma from the Adventists, they did that for something like $11 million. Right. I would have to completely agree, and anybody that would tour the facility, you can actually walk into the mechanical room, and knowing that 2x4s today cost $8 a piece, right. There's $2.5 million worth of mechanical equipment in one room up there.
Right.
That, again, not counting the land. So the building itself is spread out over 4 floors. It's approximately 110,000 square feet. The deal I've negotiated includes the Volunteer Conference Center, which is the old Adventist church. There's a small house up there on the corner there at Coolidge Street at the intersection. And then there's a parking lot adjacent to our EMS headquarters, located there behind the store, that also fronts the Asheville Highway. And so it's the entire campus. So it answers several problems, or provides several solutions for the problem, in the fact that we're going to have plenty of parking for the public.
All right. So now back to the property tax.
Sure.
Are you going to have to raise my property taxes to pay for the building and the renovations?
And the short answer to that is no, Ron. We're not going to raise taxes. I don't know that despite the fact that it is a very, very good deal, and over the course of the last couple of days, this will be hopefully the second home run that Greene County has hit. The first being the acquisition of and the renovation of the CCU building for our election commission. 13 acres of land there with 7,500 square foot building for $425,000. You throw in the renovation cost. We've got that facility, adjacent to the bypass that was lauded by many people that come and vote in the presidential election as a super deal for, $600,000. This facility, $2.5 million, we're not going to raise taxes. The commissioners on Monday night will be presented several options on how we would finance or pay for this without tripping a tax increase or actually tripping some type of tax increase down the road. So as everyone knows, there's a tremendous amount of money now coming from the federal government and other places that we can utilize and pull on. Perhaps marry that with a little bonding, and actually have a lower payment, if you will, sort of somewhat similar to refinancing your home, and actually come out more to the good to be able to cover operational and maintenance costs, which will increase with the increased size of the facility, but none of those options will include raising taxes now or in the future, so to pay for this facility. So again, it is an opportunity here that we have to address some concerns that we have, and providing some flexibility down the road for us to be able to, again, mitigate any type of large sort of tax increase that we would have, for other solutions. So
you're able to get it at a great deal. You're able to do it without a tax increase. Who moves over there? You've got the election commission pretty well settled, and the emergency management in a good facility where they can do drive-through and have plenty of space for all that they need. So aside from the election commission, what other government agencies? Again, when I'm thinking of that, Mayor, as I was driving around, I'm thinking, well, how many offices, quote, are there in there that, rooms could be converted to? How many, you've got... You just have so many needs that could be solved by that. So
absolutely.
Who would move into that campus?
Well, deference would be given to the sheriff's department initially. That would be the absolute first priority. In touring the building, we would probably move the sheriff's office, their administration, their detective division, their evidence and record keeping, and interviewing over to the third floor.
And if anybody's been in that building where the sheriff is located, any time in the last 30 years, I don't know, was it built in the 19 aughts maybe? I mean, it really is that building of all the county buildings, I think, is the one most sorely in need of just something. They are crammed in every corner.
Yes,
no elevator. You can't get from one place to the other. It's just a pretty old building.
It's a nightmare maze. If to give somewhat of a concise sort of short history, the current sheriff's office is the former location of the old jail.
Right.
And then because we have what I would consider the new jail, which was constructed in '87, because of essentially a pending lawsuit for space. So when the current jail was built downtown in '87, then the old jail that it replaced became the sheriff's office. And the sheriff's department currently has all of their detectives piled up in one small office, not much bigger than this broadcast room.
Yeah.
Which is not good for professionalism and operation and efficiency. So just that act in and of itself, and that's not the only department. The sheriff certainly hasn't pushed for this, but that gives us options at the courthouse that we've long needed. For instance, in Sessions Court, any sort of given day, we have somewhere between 25 and about 40 inmates that will come down for arraignments that are there in the courthouse with the general public. It's long been needed some type of holding location for those inmates. If you recall, for instance, we actually had an inmate not too long ago actually jump out the window and nearly land on Judge Pearson.
Yes.
He was caught a short time later, but that just accentuates the need for some type of holding cell. So the current space that the sheriff would vacate could then be repurposed into a holding cell for the court system, so that we could efficiently bring those folks over to have their cases heard, and then return them back to the holding cell without all of this logistics in moving them from the jail and the workhouse and that sort of thing, so that the court would continue to operate efficiently. The remaining space could be further utilized by the sheriff's department or repurposed into some type of light or minimum security. Again, alleviating perhaps any type of overcrowding situation, or providing flexibility for an overcrowding situation, again, to mitigate, us spending millions of dollars requiring a very large tax increase to build a jail.
Are you able to bring over everybody out of the annex?
We would bring everybody over out of the annex. In fact, we would actually bring building and zoning out of their current location over in the old school headquarters building on Charles Street. They're actually co-located there with 911. That would provide some additional much-needed space for 911, so that they would have their own facility. But it would bring building and zoning into the arena of the other land offices, so that they would be all co-located together. So the benefit for the public would be, if they're coming to the Register of Deeds office, they're coming to the assessor's office, they're coming to the trustee's office, any type of land transaction. And it's often been done, or at least it's done now, if someone comes to the annex and they need a building permit, for instance, well, we have to tell that individual, well, you need to go over on Charles Street and get a building permit, or get some type of certification, or you have to take this over there and get it signed and then bring it back. And that's all frustrating. And of course the transaction is, well, why do I have to go over there, and why can't we do it here? Well, we don't have the room here. So everyone in the annex would come over. All of the land offices would be located in the same place. The tag office would move over. We have the potential, perhaps, we'll just have to look at this going forward, if this contract is negotiated successfully, perhaps to have the drive-through window that the county clerk has wanted for a while there in that office. So as opposed to being somewhere separate requiring more employees, it's a much more efficient operation. Now, I don't want to promise that. I don't want anybody to get that in their head, but that certainly is a possibility. The annex then, depending upon what the county commission decided, would be sold. So the proceeds from that sale would go back into the coffers to offset some of the cost on the current deal. We would be picking up about 5 times the amount of parking. Nothing in the courthouse would really move. We don't want to upset the unity and the continuity of the court system. So Chancery would probably remain where it's at. Sessions, of course, wouldn't be touched. But other than providing, for instance, maybe some space for inmates during arraignment, holding cells, and that sort of thing. But that is a very big issue. And then providing some space for 911 over at building and zoning. So
the county commission, they consider this on Monday. Will they make the decision then? Is it a first of 2 readings? Is it where are they on the process of that?
Well, the resolution is on the agenda, at the end of our agenda for Monday night for the county commission to consider. What they'll do, I don't know. We've provided as much information as we can. We've conducted 2 tours. We've gotten approximately 16 or 17 commissioners out of the 21 to tour the facility. We've laid out, what the deal is. We've answered questions with regard to operational cost, maintenance cost, um, renovation cost. We're going to provide more details as far as the financing of this deal, the way we're going to pay for it without a tax increase. So I'm sure there's some questions left to be answered. Uh, but on the surface, it's just a tremendous deal, and it's a once really in a lifetime opportunity for us. Because I'm sure once this, if it does escape us, then
Yeah,
then
that
we're done.
regardless of what the county does, I've talked to people and their question has been, well, why doesn't Ballard do blah blah blah? And I know people that have gone to Laughlin and been in the ER for 48 hours while people
Absolutely.
are in the hallway on gurneys and they say, well, why don't they do something over there? That will not happen. Ballard's not going to open that back up. If they needed more beds, they could use some of the beds that are currently available at their East Campus.
Yes.
So that building is not ever going to be a hospital again. It's not going to be utilized regardless of what signs they put up. I think that's that as a healthcare place has gone the way of the dodo. The facility will house everything that you need it to with I won't say with no changes necessary, but few. If you had to build something that was disability compatible with that much parking, with elevators, with good plumbing, and the cost of that would be far in excess of what it'll cost you to get in. So,
Well, to give you an idea, Ron, uh, the Ballot Hospital people have told us that when they plan a new facility, anything like that, they plan $1 million a bed uh, for the quality of construction needed for a hospital.
right?
Because that facility has redundant systems for everything: redundant electricity, redundant gas, redundant water. I mean, it's made to operate in an Armageddon type situation. Um, and the hospital certification division that oversees that, that's part of their rules and regulations. Um, the the cost just for construction, if we just wanted to go out and build new, and once again, we've considered that for one or two of our departments. You're looking at least $250 to $300 a square foot.
That's exactly what I was just looking for. Business and office, the cost is over $200 a square foot. You're getting this facility for about $45 a square foot.
To give you an example,
Renovated.
yeah, absolutely,
That's the renovated price.
yes, sir. The renovated price we figured, and again, what we have estimated is not scientific. Um, we asked architect Dave Wright to do some preliminary, give us some preliminary estimates or numbers based on a facility like this, and some estimated costs for renovation. What we roughly planned is essentially about $1 million per floor, with about a $500,000 spread for overages. If you go and look at the facility, and of course there will be an assessment of each and every individual department and office that's going to move over there for their needs and space requirements, and that will be meshed or married against what what the plan or what the facility can provide, and then some renovations done as far as moving a wall here, that sort of thing. But to use Dave's words, the bones of the building are exceptional.
Right.
We won't have to do anything structurally as far as to the structure of the building. I mean, it's built strong and it's built to last. And um, again, I mentioned earlier on going into the mechanical room. You can go into some of uh, the Adventist before, and Ballard has done up to this point a fairly exceptional job. Maintain a lot of the equipment was new, or at least new looking. I know the elevators, for instance, were replaced just 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
Um, so will there be things to do? Ballard did give us that it was in their maintenance plan, short-term maintenance plan over the next 5 to 10 years to replace the roof. That's probably going to take somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 to $200,000 to do. If we have to do that, we've probably again still got some life on that. Um, you know, obviously the most immediate, um, perhaps maintenance cost might be, for chillers, HVAC units and the like. That's what we faced for the CCU building, for instance. But we've replaced those over at the EMS station. I mean, you're all the time doing maintenance,
Right.
but we've been able to manage our finances in such a way that we have that money available to us, again, to not go back to the people and say, hey, we've got to have more money out of your pocket to contribute to this. So we've got excellent management of our finances. We've got excellent fund balances. We've done the things necessary to put ourselves in a position to do this and not ask the taxpayers for a penny to be able to do it. And it can become a point of pride, and it's a tremendous opportunity for us. It avoids, another empty, vacant building here in the center of our great town. And all one needs to do is to, listen or watch the news to see what other communities, have destroyed, torn up, and the resources that we're being given and entrusted to us, we're taking it and making it something great. So
I think it's a great opportunity that, like I said, when we started, as they started vacating that building, I thought, that'd be a great place to solve a lot of problems for who could use that big a facility. There's not that many needs for that. It could be an office space, sure, but there's no company in town that needs that much office space. And save for the government being able to use that, I think that's a great thing. And
no other health system is going to come here. I mean, we've got Covenant over here on the west of us in Morristown. We've got, Tenova to the south down here in Newport. We sort of sit on the line between those three healthcare systems. Unfortunately, we sort of come or evolved in a place in our healthcare that there are no more independent hospitals like the Adventist or even Laughlin.
Right.
They're all now part of a health system for good or ill. And again, that's another topic for debate some other day. But you're exactly right. The number of entities that could utilize this space, and we've got some other great things going on in Greene County. We've our partnership has done a great job at positioning ourselves, even in the midst of this pandemic, for incredible growth for business and industry. We've got some great announcements that will be coming very soon. We've worked very hard in conjunction with Greeneville and Tusculum and the state. We've got a great announcement coming very soon on the undeveloped property out at Green Valley. So we are positioning our community for tremendous growth and opportunity, and in the future to retain more of our children here, to retain more jobs here, to keep our people here. And this is a part of that puzzle, if you will, to be able to provide that solution in a more efficient government. We're maintaining less facilities, so a more efficient government. It's actually better on your tax-paying pocket than what we have right now.
Yeah, very good. So there is a workshop Monday, 5 till 6, preceding the commission meeting. If the public wants to come and hear more about that, they are welcome to do so. I know, whatever side people are on, I'm sure you would encourage them to contact their commissioner and have a discussion about it, pro or con, but to find out all that they can about it. And then they can certainly follow along with the commission meeting on the Facebook page Monday night if they're unable to attend in person. Well, Mayor, if you want my opinion, I think it's a great job. I think it's a good thing for the county, especially for the price you're getting it at, and for the lack of any tax increase needed for what you're getting. I think it's a great find, and job well done, and best of luck to you and the commission Monday night moving forward with that.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. I've had many people come up, and over the course that this announcement was made that Greene County may be able to get the Takoma building, and said, Mayor, you missed your calling. You needed to be in real estate. And I just sort of smile and tell them, well, I've read President Trump's book a couple of times, The Art of the Deal, so it provides a pretty good blueprint for being able to negotiate and take advantage of opportunities when they come along, and that's what this is.
Well, for the price you got it at, you really should. So, well, Mayor, thank you very much. Appreciate your time coming by, and we'll be listening Monday night to see what the commission decides.
Thank you very much, Ron.
Greene County Mayor Kevin Morrison joining us in our studios this morning.